Discussion on verses 1 to 11 of 11. Allah, the Exalted, opens this chapter by directing attention toward a universal and ever-present reality surrounding every person, the perfect balance, order, and harmony evident throughout creation. This harmony is neither accidental nor self-sustaining, nor does it arise from independent natural forces. Rather, it exists solely because every created thing submits completely and unconditionally to the command and will of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
Whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is on the earth glorifies Allah.
Careful reflection upon the universe makes this truth unmistakable. The sun rises and sets with unfailing precision, providing light, warmth, and the necessary conditions for life. The moon progresses through fixed phases that regulate natural rhythms and environmental balance. Planets remain within defined orbits without deviation or collision, while stars and galaxies travel across vast expanses in flawless coordination over immeasurable periods of time. Despite the immense scale and complexity of the universe, instability does not overcome its structure. Such consistency is not coincidental, but is the direct consequence of creation's complete obedience to Allah, the Exalted. The same principle governs the earth and all that exists within it. The atmosphere maintains an exact composition suitable for sustaining life. The human body continuously performs intricate internal functions without conscious direction. Oceans, winds, rainfall, and ecosystems operate according to precise systems established and maintained by Allah, the Exalted. Every element of creation fulfills its assigned role without resistance, thereby preserving universal balance and harmony. In contrast, mankind has been granted free will, a unique distinction within creation. Through this gift, a person possesses the ability to choose obedience or disobedience to Allah, the Exalted. Consequently, imbalance, confusion, stress, and disorder within human life do not arise from any deficiency in divine guidance, but from turning away from it. When a person follows limited personal desires rather than divine instruction, imbalance inevitably emerges, because human perception, knowledge, and foresight remain inherently incomplete and restricted. Thus, the harmony observed throughout creation serves both as a sign and as an enduring lesson. It demonstrates that balance, peace, and stability are natural outcomes of obedience to Allah, the Exalted. Just as the sun, moon, and all created things attain harmony through submission, a person can achieve true balance within mental, physical, and spiritual dimensions only through sincere obedience to Him. When the blessings granted to a person are used in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, life becomes structured and purposeful. Priorities become properly ordered, decisions become guided by wisdom rather than impulse, and relationships and responsibilities are placed in their correct proportion. Such obedience reduces inner conflict and emotional instability, as reliance shifts from limited personal judgment to the perfect knowledge and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted. This alignment also encourages proper preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment, strengthening purpose, discipline, and direction in life. As a result, a person attains tranquility in this world through inner harmony and gains eternal safety and reward in the hereafter. The harmony visible throughout creation, therefore, stands not merely as an observable phenomenon, but as a clear indication of the path leading to lasting peace. An essential aspect of obedience to Allah, the Exalted, highlighted within this verse, is the proper glorification of Him. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
Whatever is in the heavens, and whatever is on the earth glorifies Allah.
True glorification requires recognition of the absolute greatness, perfection, sovereignty, and wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, in every circumstance. Since nothing occurs except by His will, including hardship, loss, and difficulty, genuine glorification necessitates refraining from attributing injustice, deficiency, or negativity to Him. Rather, a person maintains certainty that every decree of Allah, the Exalted, contains wisdom and benefit, even when its purpose remains hidden. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
The King, the Holy, the Almighty, the Wise.
A central component of glorifying Allah, the Exalted, is the development of a constructive and faithful mindset. Such a mindset does not deny hardship or dismiss pain. Instead, it enables recognition of divine wisdom operating through all circumstances while maintaining obedience during both ease and difficulty. When hardship occurs, reflection reminds a person that circumstances could have been more severe. When trials involve worldly loss, gratitude remains for the preservation of faith, since spiritual loss carries far greater consequence. When certain blessings are removed, attention shifts toward the countless blessings that continue to remain. Gratitude during difficulty strengthens faith, protects the heart from despair, and prevents resentment from taking root. Regular reflection upon the wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, nurtures emotional and spiritual balance. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
This verse teaches that perceived hardship may conceal protection, growth, or long-term benefit, while seemingly desirable matters may ultimately lead to harm or distraction. Acceptance of this reality shields the heart from confusion, anxiety, and hopelessness, allowing trust in divine wisdom to replace uncertainty. Ultimately, maintaining a faithful and constructive mindset itself becomes an act of glorifying Allah, the Exalted. Through such an outlook, a person faces life's changing conditions with patience, gratitude, and trust in divine wisdom. Continuous reflection, combined with sincere obedience, strengthens faith, increases certainty, and cultivates enduring inner peace. This perspective enables recognition that every circumstance carries wisdom, opportunity, and mercy from Allah, the Exalted, guiding the person toward lasting tranquility and success in both this world and the hereafter. Throughout history, a widespread misconception has concerned the true nature of Allah, the Exalted, and the proper understanding of His divine names and attributes. Divine revelation clarifies these attributes so that correct belief may be established, thereby guiding a person towards sincere obedience through the proper use of the blessings granted to them. Sound knowledge of the names and attributes of Allah, the Exalted, nurtures responsibility, humility, and accountability, whereas ignorance of them may lead to false assumptions, spiritual complacency, or reliance upon wishful thinking. A correct understanding of the attributes of Allah, the Exalted, produces balance between hope and responsibility. For example, a person who truly understands that Allah, the Exalted, is all-forgiving does not become careless in wrongdoing. Rather, such understanding motivates continuous repentance, sincere effort in obedience, and genuine regret for shortcomings. In contrast, misunderstanding this attribute may cause a person to persist in disobedience while assuming forgiveness will inevitably occur regardless of conduct. Such an attitude transforms hope into self-deception. Therefore, protection from these errors lies in studying the divine names and attributes of Allah, the Exalted, exactly as revealed in the Holy Quran and explained through the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
The King.
This name establishes that Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses absolute and perfect sovereignty, entirely free from deficiency or limitation. His dominion has no beginning and no end, experiences no decrease, and is unrestricted by time, power, or circumstance. Allah, the Exalted, exercises complete authority over all creation through perfect management, command, and judgment without reliance upon partners, assistants, or intermediaries. Nothing can obstruct His will, delay His decree, or oppose His authority. While all creation remains entirely dependent upon Him, He remains completely independent of all creation. Recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the sole King naturally leads a person to acknowledge their own position as a servant. Acceptance of divine sovereignty necessitates obedience to His commands and avoidance of His prohibitions. A sincere servant does not object to the decisions of the King, but submits with trust, recognizing that divine decrees originate from perfect wisdom, even when their immediate purpose is not understood. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
When a person truly recognizes Allah, the Exalted, as the King, reliance upon creation diminishes. Assistance, protection, and success are sought primarily from Him through sincere obedience and devotion. Such recognition cultivates certainty that obedience to the king brings protection from the harm of creation, whereas prioritizing obedience to creation over obedience to Allah, the Exalted, cannot shield a person from divine accountability. This principle is clearly expressed in a hadith of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, recorded in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 2625, in which it is declared that there is no obedience to creation when it involves disobedience to the Creator. One is also encouraged to reflect this attribute inwardly according to human capacity, by establishing rightful governance over the self. This is achieved through purification of the inner spiritual center, namely the spiritual heart, by acting upon knowledge derived from the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. When the spiritual heart is disciplined and guided by divine instruction, the bodily limbs naturally follow in righteous action. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, explained in a hadith recorded in Sahih Muslim, number 4094, that when the spiritual heart is sound, the entire body becomes sound, and when it is corrupted, the entire body becomes corrupted. True mastery, therefore, does not lie in dominance over others but in control over personal desires. A person should not become enslaved by impulses, passions, or worldly temptations. Rather, true dignity and strength emerge when desires are governed according to divine guidance. Through such discipline, attachment to worldly excess weakens, and freedom from dependence upon material things develops. Within this detachment lies the genuine form of human kingship, characterized not by possession but by self-control and moral authority. Whoever perfects this state is granted a form of spiritual sovereignty, in both the worldly life and the hereafter. By fulfilling the rights owed to the king through sincere servanthood, a person advances toward the ultimate honor described in the Holy Quran. Chapter 54 Al-Qiyamah, verse 55.
In a seat of honor near a sovereign, perfect in ability.
This final outcome represents the highest success, nearness to the only true king, attained through recognition of his sovereignty, sincere obedience, purification of the inner self, and steadfast submission to his perfect will. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
The Holy.
In relation to Allah, the Exalted, this name signifies the one who is completely sanctified, absolutely pure, and entirely free from every flaw, imperfection, limitation, or deficiency. His purity is not merely freedom from weakness, but absolute transcendence beyond anything that can be imagined or attributed to creation. Allah, the Exalted, possesses perfection in a manner that surpasses all human comprehension, and no attribute associated with created beings can resemble his divine reality. His holiness affirms that his actions, commands, decrees, and judgments are entirely free from injustice, error, or imperfection. Recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the Holy naturally inspires a person to seek personal purification. Awareness of divine purity encourages continual effort to cleanse one's outward actions and inward state from spiritual corruption. A person therefore turns to Allah, the Exalted, in supplication, seeking purification from sins and asking to be adorned with qualities beloved to him, such as sincerity, humility, patience, honesty, and gratitude. This purification extends across every dimension of life. A person must strive to purify physical actions by refraining from sinful conduct and avoiding behavior that contradicts divine guidance. Equally important is purification from submission to harmful desires, as unchecked impulses gradually distance a person from obedience and spiritual clarity. True purification requires discipline over personal inclinations, so that actions are guided by principle rather than desire. Purification also encompasses wealth and livelihood. A person must ensure that provision is sought only through lawful and ethical means, avoiding doubtful or unlawful sources that corrupt both material blessings and spiritual well-being. Lawful provision brings blessing and tranquility, whereas unlawful gain removes spiritual benefit, even if material increase appears outwardly significant. In addition, intellectual and spiritual purification requires protecting the mind from heedlessness toward divine guidance. Constant distraction by worldly concerns can cause forgetfulness of purpose and accountability. Through reflection upon the Holy Quran and adherence to the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, awareness remains alive, allowing decisions and behavior to remain aligned with obedience to Allah the Exalted. Among the most essential forms of purification is the purification of intention. Actions acquire true value through sincerity, whereby a person acts solely seeking the pleasure of Allah the Exalted. Even ordinary worldly responsibilities become acts of worship when performed with righteous intention. Providing lawful support for one's family, fulfilling responsibilities with honesty, and engaging in daily efforts with sincere purpose are all transformed into rewarded deeds. This principle is confirmed in a hadith recorded in Sahih Bukhari, number 4006. Thus, recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the Holy guides a person toward continual self-refinement. External conduct, internal character, financial dealings, thoughts, and intentions are gradually purified through conscious obedience. As purification increases, spiritual clarity develops, sins diminish, and closeness to Allah, the Exalted, grows. Through this process, a person reflects, according to human capacity, the love of purity that originates from the One who is perfectly and eternally holy, thereby attaining dignity, tranquility, and success in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
The Almighty.
This divine name affirms that Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses absolute power, dominance, and irresistible authority over all existence. His might encompasses every realm without exception, limitation, or opposition. Nothing within creation possesses independent strength, authority, or influence. Rather, any power observed among creation exists solely because it has been granted by Allah, the Exalted. Every force, ability, and capacity operates under His command, and not even the smallest particle within this world or the hereafter can escape His control or authority. Recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the Almighty establishes within a person a profound sense of humility and dependence. A person comes to realize that the ability to perform righteous deeds, avoid wrongdoing, maintain patience, or remain steadfast in obedience originates entirely from divine assistance. Success in obedience is therefore not a personal achievement, but a blessing granted by Allah, the Exalted. This understanding protects the heart from pride, self-admiration, and arrogance. Even the smallest measure of pride carries grave consequences, as confirmed in a hadith recorded in Sahih Muslim, number 266, which warns that an atom's weight of arrogance is sufficient to prevent entry into paradise. When a person sincerely recognizes that all strength belongs to Allah, the Exalted, gratitude replaces pride and reliance upon Him increases. Continuous awareness of divine might encourages humility in success and patience during hardship, as both ability and relief remain within His control alone. Whoever seeks strength in faith must therefore turn toward obedience to the Almighty, Allah the Exalted. True spiritual strength is not derived from material resources, social influence, or physical capability, but from steadfast obedience and sincere reliance upon divine guidance. Through obedience, faith becomes firm and resilient, enabling a person to endure trials, overcome temptations, and remain steadfast during adversity until departure from this world occurs while Allah, the Exalted, is pleased with them. Such obedience is realized through adherence to the path demonstrated by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This includes fulfilling divine commands, refraining from prohibitions, maintaining sincerity in worship, and responding to destiny with patience and trust. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, if you should love Allah, then follow me, so Allah will love you and forgive you your sins.
True awareness of Allah, the Exalted, as the Almighty, also serves as a powerful deterrent against sin. A person who internalizes this attribute recognizes that escape from divine authority is impossible. Hidden actions, private wrongdoing, and concealed intentions all remain fully known and subject to divine accountability. This awareness cultivates vigilance over conduct and strengthens moral restraint. Furthermore, engraving this divine name within the heart prevents oppression and injustice toward others. A person becomes conscious that worldly authority, status, or power cannot shield anyone from divine justice. Even when no human authority exists capable of holding one accountable, Allah, the Exalted, remains fully aware and perfectly just. This reality is reinforced in a hadith recorded in Sahih Muslim, number 6579, which warns that oppression may result in severe punishment, including being cast into hell on the Day of Judgment. Thus, recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the Almighty transforms both inner character and outward behavior. It nurtures humility, strengthens obedience, restrains injustice, and instills accountability. Through sincere awareness of divine might, a person gains true strength of faith, moral discipline, and spiritual security, ultimately attaining success and protection in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
The wise.
This divine name affirms that Allah, the Exalted, possesses complete and infinite knowledge of all things, their realities, outcomes, and hidden purposes. His wisdom governs every decree, command, and action in absolute perfection. Nothing occurs without purpose, balance, or benefit, even when human understanding remains unable to perceive the underlying reason. The wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, encompasses the past, present, and future simultaneously, and His decisions are always aligned with perfect justice, mercy, and knowledge. A person who truly understands that Allah, the Exalted, is the wise develops certainty and trust in divine decree. Such understanding removes objection, resentment, and inner resistance toward life's circumstances. Awareness of divine wisdom allows acceptance that events unfold according to knowledge far greater than human perception. What appears difficult, undesirable, or harmful may in reality contain protection, growth, or long-term benefit. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
Recognition of Allah, the Exalted, as the wise, also obligates a person to pursue beneficial knowledge. Wisdom, in the human sense, arises from understanding matters of the highest importance, particularly knowledge that guides conduct towards success in both the worldly life and the hereafter. Seeking knowledge revealed in the Holy Quran and explained through the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, enables a person to distinguish truth from falsehood, benefit from harm, and lasting success from temporary gain. However, knowledge alone does not constitute wisdom. True wisdom emerges when knowledge is acted upon sincerely and consistently. A person must therefore apply learned guidance in practical life, shaping behavior, decisions, relationships, and responsibilities according to divine instruction. Acting upon knowledge transforms understanding into wisdom and prevents knowledge from becoming merely theoretical or neglected. A person reflects this divine name according to human capacity, by using personal abilities, resources, and opportunities in ways that comply with the commands of Allah, the Exalted. Wealth, intellect, influence, time, and skills become instruments of benefit when directed toward righteousness and service to others. Through such conduct, benefit extends beyond the individual, positively affecting families, communities, and society as a whole. This balanced use of knowledge and blessings represents the highest form of wisdom attainable by a person. It ensures that worldly actions contribute to eternal success, allowing every aspect of life to serve a meaningful purpose. Through recognizing Allah, the Exalted, as the wise and striving to act with wisdom derived from divine guidance, a person attains clarity of judgment, stability of character, and tranquility of heart, thereby achieving success and benefit in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 1.
Whatever is in the heavens and whatever is on the earth glorifies Allah, the King, the Holy, the Almighty, the Wise.
This verse establishes that Allah, the Exalted, is to be obeyed at all times and under all circumstances. Divine obedience is not left to human interpretation or speculation. Rather, Allah, the Exalted, has consistently revealed guidance so that obedience may be performed correctly and meaningfully. Through adherence to this revealed guidance, a person attains peace of mind in both worlds by developing balance within mental, physical, and spiritual dimensions of life. Divine guidance enables a person to correctly prioritize responsibilities, place relationships within their proper limits, and fulfill obligations toward others, thereby establishing harmony within individual life and justice within society. Obedience to Allah, the Exalted, is therefore not merely a ritual obligation, but a comprehensive system designed to regulate human conduct in a manner consistent with human nature itself. Through this guidance, personal well-being and social stability become interconnected, as fulfillment of the rights of others promotes fairness, compassion, and collective peace. When individuals act according to divine instruction, social injustice diminishes, trust increases, and communities function upon principles of accountability and mercy. Regardless of how materially advanced a society may become, and irrespective of progress achieved within scientific, psychological, or social fields, humanity remains incapable of producing a flawless and universal code of conduct fully aligned with human nature and applicable to every circumstance encountered throughout life. Human knowledge continues to evolve and remains subject to revision and limitation. Even within specialized disciplines concerned with human behavior and cognition, new discoveries continually reshape previous assumptions. Humanity continues to explore the functions of the human brain and the complexities of emotional and behavioral patterns, demonstrating that complete understanding of human nature remains far beyond human reach. Consequently, the formulation of a perfect moral and social framework capable of addressing all individual and collective situations is fundamentally unattainable through human intellect alone. Human systems inevitably reflect limitation, bias, changing cultural values, and incomplete foresight. What may appear beneficial in one era often reveals harmful consequences in another, leading to continual adjustment and uncertainty. In contrast, Allah, the Exalted, as the creator of humanity and all existence, possesses absolute and unlimited knowledge encompassing the past, present, and future simultaneously. His knowledge includes not only outward actions but also inner intentions, psychological needs, social dynamics, and long-term consequences unseen by human perception. For this reason, he alone possesses the authority and capability to establish a comprehensive code of conduct that distinguishes truth from falsehood, benefit from harm, and justice from oppression. Divine guidance therefore provides humanity with a stable and enduring moral framework that protects individuals from confusion and societies from injustice. By adhering to this guidance, a person is protected from the anxiety and instability that arise from constantly shifting human standards. The result is the cultivation of inner tranquility alongside social harmony, as personal conduct becomes aligned with divine wisdom rather than fluctuating desire or societal pressure. Historical experience further demonstrates that whenever this divine code of conduct was sincerely implemented within individual and collective life, societies experienced increased justice, security, and social cohesion. Respect for rights, responsibility toward others, and moral accountability flourished when divine guidance governed behavior. Peace within society emerged as a natural outcome of individuals fulfilling their obligations toward Allah, the Exalted, and toward one another. Accordingly, a person is encouraged to accept and embrace the divine code of conduct revealed by Allah, the Exalted, recognizing it as ultimately beneficial, even when certain commands conflict with personal inclination or immediate desire. Submission to divine guidance resembles the conduct of a wise and patient who trusts the expertise of a skilled physician. Such a patient accepts unpleasant treatment or restrictive discipline with the understanding that temporary discomfort serves long-term well-being and recovery. Likewise, adherence to divine instruction may at times challenge personal preference, yet it ultimately safeguards spiritual health, emotional stability, and lasting success in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
It is He who has sent among the unlettered a messenger.
The initial matter established by this verse is that the message of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was primarily conveyed to the unlettered people of Arabia. This reality itself serves as a clear indication that engagement with divine guidance is not restricted to scholars alone. Rather, every person is invited to listen, reflect, and benefit from the teachings revealed by Allah, the Exalted. The accessibility of revelation demonstrates that understanding its moral and spiritual guidance lies within the capacity of all people, regardless of educational background or social standing. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 25.
And Allah presents examples for the people that perhaps they will reflect.
And chapter 16 Al-Nahl, verse 44.
We sent them with clear proofs and written ordinances. And we revealed to you the message, i.e. the Quran, that you may make clear to the people what was sent down to them and that they might give thought.
These verses establish that contemplation and thoughtful engagement with the Holy Quran form an essential objective of revelation itself. The divine message was revealed not merely for recitation, but for understanding, reflection, and practical implementation within daily life. Consequently, the belief that reflection upon the Holy Quran is reserved exclusively for scholars contradicts the broader purpose of divine guidance. However, this accessibility must be understood alongside an important distinction. Encouragement toward reflection does not imply that individuals without scholarly training should independently interpret complex verses or derive legal rulings. Matters relating to jurisprudence, detailed theological interpretation, or legal judgment require specialized knowledge, methodological training, and familiarity with the broader body of Islamic scholarship. Independent interpretation without proper grounding risks misunderstanding and misapplication, which may lead to confusion or misguidance. Instead, reflection appropriate for every person focuses upon clear and universally accessible teachings contained within the Holy Quran. These include moral instruction, spiritual development, recognition of divine signs, cultivation of virtuous character, and avoidance of harmful traits. The Holy Quran repeatedly outlines qualities such as honesty, patience, humility, gratitude, justice, compassion, and self-restraint, while warning against arrogance, oppression, greed, and heedlessness. Reflecting upon these teachings allows a person to reform character and behavior, thereby attaining peace of mind and balance in both the worldly life and the hereafter. Engagement with reliable translations and trusted explanations enables individuals to approach deeper meanings safely and productively. When a person studies the Holy Quran through authentic commentary, understanding gradually develops, fostering love, reverence, and awareness of Allah the Exalted. Recognition of the clear proofs and evidences contained within revelation strengthens faith and nurtures a sincere desire for obedience. This understanding encourages practical preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment by guiding a person to use the blessings granted by Allah, the Exalted, in ways consistent with divine instruction. The most effective path towards sound understanding remains learning under the mentorship of a qualified scholar, as structured learning preserves accuracy and protects against misunderstanding. Personal reflection upon what is learned remains equally essential, as knowledge achieves its true purpose only when translated into conduct and lived experience. When direct study under a scholar is not feasible, a person should rely upon recognized and authentic interpretations of the Holy Quran while maintaining humility and caution. Whenever uncertainty or confusion arises, guidance should be sought from knowledgeable scholars rather than relying upon personal assumption. Through this balanced approach, combining reflection, learning, and responsible reliance upon scholarship, a person engages meaningfully with divine revelation, strengthens faith, and applies the teachings of the Holy Quran in a manner that leads to stability, clarity, and success in both worlds. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
It is He who has sent among the unlettered a messenger from themselves.
The fact that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, had no formal interaction with earlier divine scriptures constitutes a powerful indication of the divine origin of the Holy Quran. This reality was acknowledged not only by the people of the book, but also by the non-Muslims of Mecca, who were fully aware of his life, upbringing, and circumstances. He neither studied previous scriptures nor received instruction from learned communities familiar with earlier revelations. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 48.
And you did not recite before it any scripture, nor did you inscribe one with your right hand. Then, i.e., otherwise the falsifiers would have had cause for doubt.
This verse establishes that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, possessed no worldly means through which knowledge of previous revelations could have been acquired. Had he been literate in earlier scriptures or trained in religious scholarship, opponents could have claimed that the Holy Quran was derived from prior sources. The absence of such exposure removed any reasonable foundation for doubt, and reinforced that the message originated from Allah, the Exalted. Furthermore, the non-Muslims of Mecca were recognized masters of the Arabic language, possessing deep familiarity with eloquence, poetry, and rhetorical excellence. Their linguistic expertise enabled them to distinguish clearly between ordinary human speech and the unmatched style of the Holy Quran. Despite their opposition, they recognized that its language, structure, and depth could not be attributed to any created being. Equally significant was their lifelong familiarity with the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. For approximately 40 years prior to the declaration of prophethood, he lived openly among them, and his honesty and integrity were universally acknowledged. Chapter 10 Yunus, verse 16.
For I had remained among you a lifetime before it. Then will you not reason?
And chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
Sent among the unlettered a messenger from themselves.
A consistent pattern evident throughout the mission of every holy prophet, peace be upon them, is that they were never strangers to their communities. They were born among their people, raised within their societies, and observed continuously throughout their lives. Their conduct was publicly known, and their reputations were established long before the announcement of prophethood. Honesty, trustworthiness, and moral excellence defined their character, forming a living testimony that preceded revelation itself. This lifelong transparency served as a decisive proof. A person known throughout life for truthfulness cannot reasonably be accused of fabricating a message of divine revelation. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was recognized by his people as trustworthy in worldly matters, and they entrusted him with their possessions and disputes. Reason therefore demanded that the same honesty be acknowledged when he conveyed revelation from Allah, the Exalted. If deception had never characterized his dealings in ordinary affairs, attributing falsehood to him regarding revelation would contradict both logic and lived experience. Despite these clear signs, many turned away, not due to lack of evidence, but because of arrogance, attachment to inherited customs, and the attraction of worldly interests. Sincere reflection would have revealed that his message sought no personal gain. His call invited people toward obedience to Allah, the Exalted, urging them to use the blessings granted to them in accordance with divine guidance. The objective of this call was the well-being of humanity itself, the attainment of peace of mind through balanced mental, physical, and spiritual living, proper prioritization of relationships and responsibilities, and the establishment of justice through fulfillment of the rights owed to others. Thus, the life, character, and circumstances of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, together with the unmatched nature of the Holy Quran, collectively form a coherent and compelling proof of divine origin. Reflection upon these realities leads a sincere person to recognize that the message was revealed not for worldly authority or recognition, but as guidance from Allah, the Exalted, intended to lead humanity towards stability, justice, and lasting peace in both this world and the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
It is He who has sent among the unlettered a messenger from themselves reciting to them his verses and purifying them.
This verse highlights one of the central purposes behind the mission of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, the spiritual purification of humanity. Such purification is not a passive or abstract condition, attained through mere belief or verbal affirmation. Rather, it represents an active and continuous process grounded in learning, reflection, self-assessment, and practical implementation of divine guidance within daily life. Spiritual purification requires that a person consciously cultivate the noble qualities praised within revelation. Traits such as generosity, patience, humility, gratitude, sincerity, justice, and compassion must be intentionally developed through consistent effort and disciplined conduct. At the same time, purification necessitates the gradual removal of destructive characteristics condemned within the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, including pride, envy, greed, arrogance, resentment, and selfishness. Through this dual process of adornment with virtue and removal of vice, the spiritual heart becomes refined and elevated. As inner corruption diminishes, clarity and emotional stability naturally emerge. True peace of mind arises when a person's beliefs, actions, and intentions align with divine guidance. Inner conflict decreases because life is no longer governed by competing desires or uncontrolled impulses, but by stable moral principles revealed by Allah, the Exalted. In this way, tranquility becomes the natural outcome of living in harmony with the purpose for which humanity was created. Spiritual purification also governs how a person utilizes the blessings granted to them. Wealth, health, knowledge, time, and influence are no longer viewed merely as personal possessions, but as trusts entrusted by Allah, the Exalted. A purified individual strives to employ these blessings according to divine instruction and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Such awareness prevents wastefulness, excess, and misuse, directing blessings instead toward gratitude, service to others, and sincere obedience. Through this conscious and disciplined use of blessings, balance develops within both mental and physical aspects of life. Responsibilities are fulfilled appropriately, relationships are maintained with fairness, and worldly pursuits remain proportionate rather than overwhelming. Each matter is placed within its rightful position, preventing attachment to temporary concerns from overshadowing eternal objectives. This balance safeguards worldly well-being, while simultaneously preparing a person for accountability on the Day of Judgment. A life grounded in purification, therefore, produces a dual outcome. In the worldly life, the purified soul experiences clarity of purpose, contentment with provision, and resilience during hardship. Trials no longer produce despair, as trust in the wisdom of Allah, the Exalted, strengthens patience and perseverance. In the hereafter, this same purification becomes the means of attaining eternal peace, safety, and reward in the presence of Allah, the Exalted. Thus, spiritual purification represents far more than personal moral improvement. It forms the very foundation of success in both realms of existence. By transforming character, regulating desires, and directing blessings toward righteousness, purification secures lasting peace of mind in this world and enduring success in the hereafter. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
Reciting to them his verses and purifying them, and teaching them the book and wisdom.
The book mentioned in this verse may be understood as referring to the divine law revealed for humanity, namely the complete code of conduct by which a person is guided in every aspect of life. Through this divinely revealed law, individuals learn how to properly utilize the blessings granted to them, whether these blessings relate to wealth, authority, knowledge, relationships, or personal ability. When these blessings are used according to divine guidance, a person attains inner stability, moral clarity, and peace of mind while simultaneously fulfilling the rights owed to Allah, the Exalted, as well as the rights owed to other people. Consequently, adherence to this law establishes the foundations upon which peace, balance, and justice may spread throughout society. The verse also joins the teaching of the book with wisdom, thereby indicating that knowledge alone is insufficient without correct understanding and application. Wisdom enables a person to apply knowledge appropriately, recognizing when, how, and to what extent rulings and principles should be implemented. It prevents rigidity, injustice, and misuse of knowledge, ensuring that learning becomes a source of benefit rather than harm. Through wisdom, knowledge produces positive outcomes that benefit both the individual and society in this world and in the hereafter. The harmony between law and wisdom is therefore essential for the establishment of a just and peaceful social order. Law without wisdom may be misunderstood or manipulated, as individuals may search for technicalities or loopholes in order to justify wrongdoing while outwardly appearing compliant. In such circumstances, justice is weakened even though rules formally exist. Conversely, wisdom without adherence to divine law leads individuals to construct personal or collective systems of conduct based solely upon human judgment. Human reasoning, while valuable, remains limited by incomplete knowledge, changing circumstances, emotional influence, personal interest, and conscious or unconscious bias. For this reason, purely man-made systems inevitably fall short of producing lasting peace of mind or universal justice, as they cannot fully account for the true nature and long-term needs of humanity. Thus, when wisdom becomes detached from divine law, people may sincerely believe they are acting correctly while unknowingly neglecting the rights of others. This imbalance prevents genuine justice from taking root and obstructs the establishment of social harmony. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2.
Although they were before in clear error.
True peace and justice emerge only when divine law provides the foundation and wisdom governs its application, enabling a person to fulfill responsibilities toward Allah, the Exalted, and toward humanity in a balanced and beneficial manner. As previously discussed, Islam differs fundamentally from other systems of life and religious frameworks in that it is a universal way of life, intended for all people without exception. It does not discriminate on the basis of worldly distinctions such as ethnicity, gender, social status, or wealth. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 3.
And to others of them who have not yet joined them.
This verse underscores that while the immediate audience of revelation was primarily the unlettered Arabs, the guidance of Islam extends to all people. Every individual is invited to reflect upon its teachings, assess its principles, and recognize its suitability as the most balanced and comprehensive path to achieving well-being. When properly applied, Islam enables a person to attain peace of mind in both worlds, cultivating harmony within the mental, physical, and spiritual spheres, correctly prioritizing responsibilities and relationships, and promoting justice, equity, and balance within society. These outcomes are bestowed only by Allah the Exalted, whose knowledge encompasses all things seen and unseen. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 3.
And he is the exalted in might, the wise.
These attributes indicate that the guidance provided through Islam is not arbitrary. It is grounded in divine power and perfect wisdom, ensuring that those who follow it are guided toward ultimate benefit. Yet, this guidance does not negate human free will. Allah the Exalted does not compel obedience or force belief, for such compulsion would invalidate the purpose of life as a test in this world. Instead, the responsibility to respond lies with the individual. Only those who approach the teachings of Islam with an open, unbiased, and reflective mindset are able to recognize the immense blessing it represents. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 4.
That is the bounty of Allah which He gives to whom He wills, and Allah is the possessor of great bounty.
This verse not only affirms that guidance is a divine gift granted at Allah's discretion, but it also contains a subtle admonition directed toward the people of the book, the previous custodians at divine revelation. They were entrusted with the responsibility to preserve, implement, and convey the message of Allah the Exalted for the benefit of all humanity. Yet, instead of fulfilling this sacred trust, many among them allowed pride, self-interest, and a sense of superiority to overshadow their duties. They misused their privileged position to exalt themselves over others, claiming a status of inherent superiority, rather than embodying the humility, obedience, and service mandated by their own scriptures. In essence, the verse establishes a principle central to divine guidance. True honor lies not in inherited privilege or worldly status, but in accepting the bounty of Allah, the Exalted, with humility, reflecting it through righteous action, and using it to benefit oneself and others in both this world and the hereafter. After cautioning regarding the people of the book, many of whom deliberately misused the divine revelation entrusted to them for worldly advantage, Allah, the Exalted, issues a clear warning to those who receive guidance. They must not repeat the same error, but should faithfully uphold the responsibility of being granted divine revelation. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 5.
The example of those who were entrusted with the Torah and then did not take it on is like that of a donkey who carries volumes of books. Wretched is the example of the people who deny the signs of Allah. And Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people.
To avoid this outcome, a person must fulfill three essential aspects of engagement with the Holy Quran. First, one must recite it correctly and consistently, demonstrating reverence for its sacred text and integrating its rhythm and language into daily life. Second, a person should seek to understand its meanings through trustworthy sources, including authentic translations, commentaries, and guidance from qualified scholars. Third, one must apply its teachings sincerely, allowing divine instruction to shape thoughts, intentions, and actions. This approach ensures that obedience to the Holy Quran is not selective or superficial, but comprehensive and transformative. A devoted person prioritizes the guidance of the Holy Quran above personal desires or impulses that contradict it. Character is refined according to divine standards, and actions are guided by principles rather than immediate whims. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, exemplified this integration of revelation and conduct. His character has been described as the embodiment of the Quran, as noted in a hadith found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 1342. By reflecting his example, a person learns to internalize revelation fully rather than treating it as a ceremonial or theoretical text. Honoring the Holy Quran entails serious engagement, comprehension, reflection, and practical application of its commands and prohibitions. Selective obedience, or adherence only to passages that align with personal preference, indicates insincerity and prevents a person from accessing the full wisdom and mercy the Holy Quran offers. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 82.
And we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss.
While the Holy Quran indeed offers relief from worldly difficulties and challenges, its ultimate purpose is far greater, to lead humanity toward eternal salvation. Reducing its use to a mere remedy for temporary hardships, consulting it only when in distress, demonstrates shallow engagement with faith and fails to realize the enduring purpose of revelation. This is analogous to possessing a vehicle with luxurious features, but without an engine. It may appear complete externally, yet it cannot fulfill its essential function. True engagement with the Holy Quran requires full comprehension, sincere intention, and practical application, ensuring that it transforms both character and life in alignment with divine guidance. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 5.
The example of those who were entrusted with the Torah and then did not take it on is like that of a donkey who carries volumes of books. Wretched is the example of the people who deny the signs of Allah. And Allah does not guide the wrongdoing people.
This verse further serves as a warning that those who consistently fail to align their actions with their verbal declaration of faith in Allah, the Exalted, place themselves at risk of being classified as disbelievers in the sight of Allah, the Exalted. While in this world a person's status as a Muslim may be determined legally or socially by their verbal testimony, true accountability in the hereafter depends entirely upon the inward reality of the heart, which remains hidden from others. Allah, the Exalted, judges not by mere words, but by the sincerity, intention, and alignment of belief with action. Consequently, an individual who proclaims belief in Allah, the Exalted, and acknowledges the reality of accountability on the Day of Judgment, yet neglects to support this declaration through righteous conduct, may possess no genuine faith within. On the Day of Judgment, such a person will be treated as one who disbelieved, regardless of their outward legal or social status in this world. Moreover, failing to act in accordance with faith endangers the very survival of that faith. Faith is not a static or self-sustaining entity. It is comparable to a living plant that requires careful nurturing to grow and endure. Just as a plant deprived of water, sunlight, and proper care will wither and eventually die, a person's faith requires continual sustenance through obedience to Allah, the Exalted, and the implementation of His guidance. Regular acts of worship, ethical conduct, and adherence to divine instruction function as the nourishment that maintains and strengthens faith. When these acts are neglected, the heart becomes spiritually barren, and faith may weaken, fade, or even perish entirely. The loss of faith represents one of the most profound and irreversible forms of loss a person can experience. Unlike worldly possessions, which may be regained, or relationships, which may be repaired, the collapse of inner belief leaves the individual vulnerable to spiritual ruin both in this world and in the hereafter. Therefore, sincere believers must continually support their verbal declaration of faith with action, nurturing their faith consistently so that it thrives, strengthens, and leads them toward eternal success and peace. The Holy Quran addresses a serious misconception held by many among the people of the book, who claimed that, by virtue of being favored by Allah, the Exalted, they were guaranteed salvation in the hereafter regardless of their actions. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 18.
But the Jews and the Christians say, "We are the children of Allah and His beloved." Say, then why does He punish you for your sins? Rather, you are human beings from among those He has created.
This attitude led them to adopt wishful thinking regarding Allah, the Exalted. Wishful thinking is always associated with persistent disobedience, whereas true hope in the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, is inseparable from sincere obedience. This obedience involves using the blessings one has been granted in ways pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. The distinction between hope and wishful thinking is further highlighted in a hadith found in Jami at Tirmidhi, number 2459. Therefore, one must avoid wishful thinking, as it has no place in Islam and only leads to misguidance. Those who adopt wishful thinking, like the people of the book, demonstrate a highly disrespectful attitude toward Allah, the Exalted. Claiming guaranteed salvation based on lineage would imply that divine mercy is contingent on ancestry rather than righteousness, and that the doer of good is equal to the evildoer, an idea directly opposed to the truth and justice of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 45 Al-Jatiyah, verse 21.
Or do those who commit evils think we will make them like those who have believed and done righteous deeds, make them equal in their life and their death? Evil is that which they judge.
Sadly, a similar attitude has been observed among some Muslims who believe that belonging to the nation of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, guarantees salvation. This is a grave error. True hope in divine mercy requires striving sincerely to obey Allah, the Exalted, employing blessings in ways that please Him, and repenting sincerely when sins are committed. Sincere repentance entails genuine remorse, seeking forgiveness from Allah, the Exalted, and from any wronged parties without causing further harm, committing to avoid repetition, and restoring rights owed to Allah, the Exalted, and people. Only those who act in this manner may place rightful hope in Allah's mercy and forgiveness. A person's rank in the sight of Allah, the Exalted, is determined solely by the extent of their sincere obedience, not by worldly factors such as gender, ethnicity, lineage, or wealth. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 13.
Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you.
Belief in inherited privilege encourages the same wishful thinking as that of the people of the book. In response to such misconceptions, Allah, the Exalted, issued a challenge in chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 6.
Say, O you who are Jews, if you claim that you are allies of Allah, excluding the other people, then wish for death if you should be truthful.
The challenge presented would be readily accepted by anyone who truly believed they were guaranteed salvation in the hereafter, irrespective of their actions. The reasoning is clear. Why would a person wish to remain in this world, which is full of trials, sickness, difficulties, and stress, when they could supposedly obtain paradise simply by wishing for death or even committing suicide? Within the mindset of wishful thinking, the assurances of salvation remove any real concern for earthly consequences. Even if suicide were considered sinful according to their belief, it would not threaten their supposed guaranteed reward, for they assumed their status was already secured. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 7.
But they will not wish for it, ever, because of what their hands have put forth. And Allah is knowing of the wrongdoers.
This verse demonstrates that these individuals, despite their claims, are fully aware of the truth. They recognize that they cannot escape accountability for their actions in the hereafter, and therefore, they never sincerely wish for death. This teaches a crucial lesson. No one can evade divine justice, and desire alone cannot annul responsibility. Furthermore, the passage emphasizes that the consequences of misusing blessings are often evident even in this world. When a person squanders the resources, talents, or opportunities granted by Allah, the Exalted, they disrupt the balance of their mental and physical state. Relationships, wealth, career, and other aspects of life may become sources of stress and discord. Individuals may misplace their priorities, blaming the wrong elements or people, such as loved ones, for their suffering. In severe cases, persistent disobedience and neglect of accountability can lead to mental health challenges, depression, substance abuse, and even suicidal tendencies. Observing the lives of those who misuse blessings, including the affluent and influential, often confirms this reality. Worldly luxuries alone do not safeguard peace of mind. And as their attitude prevented them from preparing for their accountability on Judgment Day, their punishment in the hereafter will be far worse. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 8.
Say, indeed the death from which you flee, indeed it will meet you. Then you will be returned to the knower of the unseen and the witnessed, and he will inform you about what you used to do.
Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verses 6 to 7.
Say, O you who are Jews, if you claim that you are allies of Allah, excluding the other people, then wish for death if you should be truthful. But they will not wish for it, ever, because of what their hands have put forth. And Allah is knowing of the wrongdoers.
One may question why the people of the book did not insist that the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, wish for death, if they genuinely believed they were on the correct path. This question reveals a profound difference in understanding the nature of faith, accountability, and divine justice. For a Muslim, certainty regarding the state of one's faith at the moment of death is impossible. Since there is always the possibility of dying without faith, a Muslim is prohibited from requesting death. Instead, they are required to focus on strengthening their faith through sincere obedience to Allah, the Exalted. This includes consciously using the blessings He has granted, such as wealth, knowledge, health, and influence, in ways that are pleasing to Him, as outlined in the Holy Quran and exemplified through the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. In doing so, the believer places hope in Allah, the Exalted, that He will preserve their faith until death and grant them salvation in the hereafter. Furthermore, even if a Muslim dies in a state of faith, there remains the possibility of being subjected to punishment in hell as a consequence of their sins, prior to being admitted to paradise. Islamic teachings emphasize that even a moment in hell is unbearably severe. Thus, a Muslim should not wish for death, for they may not have fulfilled the obligations of obedience to Allah, the Exalted, sufficiently to secure direct entry into paradise. This illustrates the careful balance in Islam between hope and accountability, emphasizing that true reliance on divine mercy is inseparable from conscious obedience and preparation for the hereafter. In contrast, the people of the book, as described in the Holy Quran, were not constrained by such considerations. Many of them claimed that they were guaranteed salvation solely by virtue of their lineage or status, without regard to their deeds or obedience. Some even claimed that if they were punished in hell, it would only be for a few days, reflecting a lack of awareness of the severity of divine justice. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 80.
And they say, never will the fire touch us, except for a few numbered days.
This verse highlights their misguided wishful thinking, and illustrates the error in assuming that divine mercy is automatic or hereditary. Had they truly believed in the certainty of their salvation, they would have accepted the challenge to verbally wish for death, confident that it would lead them directly to paradise without consequence. Their refusal to do so exposed the falsity of their claim and revealed the superficiality of their faith. This underscores a fundamental principle in Islam. Hope in the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, is valid only when coupled with sincere obedience, conscious preparation for the hereafter, and recognition of the reality of divine justice. Belief cannot be grounded in lineage, status, or wishful thinking alone. The teachings of the Holy Quran and the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, emphasize that every individual's actions, intentions, and use of blessings are the true determinants of their standing in the eyes of Allah the Exalted, and their eventual fate in both this world and the hereafter. Thus, Allah the Exalted instructs the believers to distinguish themselves from the people of the book by ensuring that their actions align with their verbal declaration of faith. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 9.
O you who have believed, when the call for the prayer on the day of Friday is made, then proceed to the remembrance of Allah and leave trade.
The Friday prayer serves as a powerful and practical reminder of the necessity to prioritize obedience to Allah, the Exalted, in every aspect of life, both worldly and spiritual. Unlike ordinary daily acts of worship, it requires a person to temporarily set aside their personal, professional, and economic affairs, demonstrating that no worldly concern should take precedence over fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted. This act of leaving trade and business behind to join the congregation is not merely a ritual. It is a tangible exercise in discipline, mindfulness, and submission, illustrating that true devotion to Allah, the Exalted, encompasses all aspects of a person's life. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 9.
That is better for you, if you only knew.
For the one who fully grasps the purpose of the Friday prayer, it becomes a guide for living each day with conscious alignment to divine instructions. Such a person recognizes that every blessing, wealth, health, knowledge, family, and social influence is a trust from Allah, the Exalted, to be used correctly and responsibly. By consistently applying this principle, the person achieves a balanced mental and physical state, avoiding the anxiety, greed, or misplaced priorities that result from over-attachment to worldly affairs. Relationships, responsibilities, and possessions are then placed in their proper context, serving as means for righteousness rather than sources of stress or distraction. Moreover, the discipline cultivated through attending Friday prayer reinforces preparation for the Day of Judgment. By repeatedly choosing obedience over convenience, the person internalizes a lifestyle that aligns with divine guidance, ensuring that their actions reflect the values of justice, humility, and gratitude taught in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Over time, this consistent alignment nurtures inner tranquility, as the person experiences the harmony that arises from knowing their life is guided by wisdom far greater than their own. Ultimately, the Friday prayer is an example of a person's broader spiritual journey. It demonstrates that prioritizing the commands of Allah, the Exalted, leads not only to external order in one's life, but also to profound inner peace. By understanding and embodying this principle, a person cultivates serenity in this world while simultaneously securing preparation for the next, achieving peace of mind and stability in both worlds. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 10.
And when the prayer has been concluded, disperse within the land and seek from the bounty of Allah.
This verse also emphasizes the inherently balanced nature of Islam. A person is required to prioritize the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, in all circumstances. Yet this obligation is not limited to ritual worship alone. Islam encourages engagement in worldly responsibilities, such as earning a lawful provision for oneself and one's dependents, caring for family, and contributing positively to society. The faith does not advocate the abandonment of worldly life or material pursuits. Rather, it teaches that worldly matters should be approached with mindfulness and submission to divine guidance. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 10.
And remember Allah often that you may succeed.
By integrating obedience to Allah, the Exalted, with the diligent fulfillment of worldly duties, a person can navigate life without neglecting either dimension. This balance enables the attainment of peace of mind in every situation, fostering a stable mental and physical state, while ensuring that all relationships, responsibilities, and possessions are placed in their proper context. In doing so, one harmonizes the spiritual and material aspects of life, using both as avenues for righteousness and service, ultimately achieving tranquility and preparedness for accountability on the Day of Judgment. On one occasion, during a Friday sermon, some of the companions, may Allah be pleased with them, left in order to attend to a trade caravan that had arrived in Medina. This incident is recorded in a hadith found in Sahih Muslim, number 1997. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 11.
But when they saw a transaction or a diversion, they rushed to it and left you standing.
While their actions were not sinful, they nonetheless contradicted the proper etiquette and respect that a person must show towards the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, particularly when he was imparting divine guidance. Chapter 24 An-Nur, verse 62.
The believers are only those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and when they are meeting with him for a matter of common interest, do not depart until they have asked his permission. Indeed, those who ask your permission, those are the ones who believe in Allah and His Messenger. So when they ask your permission due to something of their affairs, then give permission to whom you will among them.
Allah the Exalted does not forbid trade or engagement in lawful pursuits, yet this incident serves as a powerful lesson. It reminds all people that worldly matters, while permissible, must not take precedence over the learning and implementation of divine teachings. Prioritizing the acquisition of knowledge and its practical application ensures that all actions, whether in worldly affairs or acts of worship, are performed correctly. By following this guidance, a person achieves a balanced mental and physical state, places every relationship and responsibility in its proper context, and ultimately attains peace of mind in both this life and the next. Chapter 62 Al-Jumu'ah, verse 11.
Say, what is with Allah is better than diversion and transaction, and Allah is the best of providers.
Another point to note is that in the second part of the verse, the terms transaction and diversion have been intentionally reversed. This subtle rearrangement serves to highlight a profound truth. Much of what people commonly consider necessary trading or business activity, undertaken to meet their responsibilities, is in reality vain or excessive. Most people earn far more than what is required to fulfill their own rights and those of their dependents, yet they expend enormous mental and physical effort chasing wealth beyond what is truly needed. Many individuals complain of mental fatigue, physical exhaustion, and stress in their pursuit of lawful provision to meet their obligations, such as providing for family members. It is crucial to understand that as long as a person lives in this world, their basic provision, the resources necessary for survival, has already been guaranteed by Allah the Exalted. In fact, Allah the Exalted predestined the distribution of provision for all creation over 50,000 years before the creation of the heavens and the earth. Chapter 11 Hud, verse 6.
And there is no creature on earth but that upon Allah is its provision, and He knows its place of dwelling and place of storage. All is in a clear register.
This divine allotment also encompasses the mental and physical energy required to obtain one's provision. However, it is important to recognize that this guarantee applies only to the minimum necessary for survival. There is no guarantee of excess wealth or resources beyond what a person requires to meet their essential needs. Those who are provided more than this minimum have also been granted the mental and physical capacity to acquire and manage the additional provision. Conversely, those not allocated extra resources or energy will find that striving for more than their guaranteed minimum leads to fatigue, frustration, and stress. Therefore, a person who focuses on securing and using only what is necessary, without waste, extravagance, or excessive ambition, will avoid unnecessary mental and physical strain. By recognizing the boundaries of what Allah, the Exalted, has allocated, and teaching dependents to do the same, one achieves a balanced approach to provision, ensuring both their well-being and that of their family. To safeguard oneself from exhaustion and maintain a stable mental and physical state, a person should strive to obtain and use provision according to their minimal requirements, avoiding greed or unnecessary pursuit of excess. This approach aligns with the balanced nature of Islam, which encourages fulfilling worldly responsibilities while maintaining obedience to Allah, the Exalted, and peace of mind in both this life and the next. To conclude, a person must embrace and act upon Islamic teachings for their own benefit, even if doing so conflicts with their personal desires. They must conduct themselves like a wise patient who follows the instructions of a physician, fully aware that the bitter medicines and strict dietary regimen prescribed are in their best interest. Just as such a patient ultimately attains better mental and physical health by adhering to the physician's guidance, so too will a person who sincerely follows the teachings of Islam experience harmony in their life. This is because the only one possessing the knowledge sufficient to ensure a person achieves a balanced mental and physical state, and correctly places everything and everyone within their life, is Allah the Exalted. Human understanding, no matter how advanced in research or experience, cannot provide comprehensive guidance in all aspects of life. Societal knowledge, medical science, and psychological advice are inherently limited. They cannot address every scenario a person may encounter, prevent all forms of stress, or guarantee the proper alignment of life's responsibilities and relationships. Human solutions are always constrained by limited knowledge, experience, foresight, and biases. Allah, the Exalted, alone possesses this complete knowledge, and He has granted it to humanity through the Holy Quran and the teachings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This truth becomes evident when comparing the lives of those who adhere to Islamic guidance with those who disregard it. Unlike a patient who must often blindly trust a doctor's prescription without full understanding, Allah, the Exalted, invites people to reflect on His guidance, providing clear proofs that enable recognition of its truthfulness. However, this requires approaching Islam with an open and unbiased mind. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 108.
Say, this is my way, I invite to Allah with insight, I and those who follow me.
Furthermore, as Allah the Exalted alone governs the hearts of people, the seat of peace of mind, He alone determines who attains it. Chapter 53 and Najm, verse 43.
And that it is He who makes one laugh and weep.
It is clear that the tranquility and peace of mind granted by Allah the Exalted are reserved for those who use the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him. As outlined in the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Those who align their actions with divine guidance experience true balance, clarity and resilience, securing both worldly well-being and preparation for accountability on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 16 and Nahl, verse 97.
Whoever does righteousness, whether male or female, while he is a believer, we will surely cause him to live a good life, and we will surely give them their reward in the hereafter according to the best of what they used to do.
All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and may peace and blessings be upon His final messenger, Muhammad, his noble family and companions.